1 wheel full of the strongest stands in all of JoJo's. 2 idiots. How many stands does it take to kill Gojo? All right, let's roll it one more time. Let's see what's going on next. That might have been the first loss that he got so far, which again, I'm surprised he made it this far in general.
He lost again, that's crazy.
Oh, Chariot Requiem. All right, tell me why he loses.
So this one's interesting. So Requiem powers, for anybody that doesn't know, are busted, but from what we can gather, they do bypass infinity because they affect on a soul level. So they're not even in the physical space anymore. They're a whole tier above that. So to give a TLDR on how Chariot Requiem works, he will make you sleep, and after you sleep, you will switch bodies with somebody. So Gojo will switch bodies with somebody else. I don't know who. Choose whoever. Off of that alone,
yikes,
he loses all of his abilities. So he's fucked off of that. But let's say hypothetically that doesn't happen. What happens after that? So here's the problem. After enough time is present being near Chariot Requiem, your body will slowly start to transform into something else. What it is, we don't know. It shows up in the manga very briefly, but your body will be soon taken over by some type of extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional creature of some kind. I'll just leave it at that. Your body will die, it'll become something else, you're fucked. It completely negates any durability. Even if you have a stand to try to revert it, you will become something else. That's just how it is. Not even Giorno with Gold Experience was able to reverse it. Even Diovala with his ability. The only way to stop it is to figure out where the direction of your shadow is. It's really dumb and convoluted. So you have to basically hit this sun that's behind you, but you have to figure it out. But it's really weird, and only 2 characters were able to figure that out after analyzing the stand ability for a while. So to more or less to bring it down, Gojo would be affected by Chariot Requiem. It would affect him on a soul level. It totally bypasses infinity. He would just slowly die after being transformed into something else, and or his body would swap to a different person's and he would lose all of his abilities. More or less that's how it would go. But I will say this, Chariot Requiem wouldn't target him directly. He would only target Gojo if he had the arrow or an object he wanted. In all, technically speaking here, this fight is Gojo would be affected, but Chariot Requiem wouldn't purposely try to fight him.
Right. And that completely tracks with everything. Yeah. As we know, like even in Jujutsu Kaisen, like there is a complete difference between like physical attacks, curse energy attacks, and soul attacks. And it's pretty much confirmed that like the only 2 characters that are even aware of like 1, how to heal that kind of damage, and 2, even properly defend against it are Yuji and Sukuna. And soul attacks are just a complete durability negging thing even in Jujutsu Kaisen. So yeah, it's very unfortunate. I'm sure there's people that will say, oh well, it's the same as cursed energy. I don't think that's going to be the case, just going off of Meta's explanation entirely. Because we know that Gojo has the 6 eyes, and we also know that he wouldn't be targeted directly by it. Is there any way that Gojo would be able to like destroy Chariot Requiem while staying outside of its like effectiveness? And also because the 6 eyes would let him know what he's dealing with, he would know directly not to engage or aggro it, I guess.
So depending on how valid some of these statements are, there's 2 ways to say this. All of Rome, in terms of range, is affected by Chariot Requiem. Everybody is falling asleep, switching places, switching their souls with somebody else, and then transforming into some Heisenberg monster. However, Mista in Trisha's body states that it is affecting the entire planet. I might have to give you the panel again. There's a lot of stuff I have to give you for this. It depends on how you see it. Because if it's an entire planet, which isn't it's an entire planet range, it's not shown very well, so I don't know how valid the statement is. Gojo can't outrun it. It's going to hit you, you're fucked. I don't know what you're gonna do. You're gonna switch with somebody else. You can hurt it, but like I think it instantly regenerates. Chariot Requiem, symbolically speaking, is the shadow to your soul, basically. So you have to destroy that sun behind you. So technically speaking, if Gojo can somehow figure out in another body or with his own just to hit the makeshift sun behind your head and destroy it, he can instantly destroy Chariot Requiem. Chariot Requiem is a massive glass cannon. He can do all that shit, but if you figure it out, and it's literally just behind you. I don't think you have to be a stand user too to figure it out. So if you destroy it, it will completely destroy the ability for everybody around you. Everybody will get their bodies back. Everything is a-okay.
Yeah, I guess it completely. I guess it comes down to the whole idea of, is Gojo going to get his body swapped? In which case, again, whose body is he going into? If he's pulling a Polnareff, that's kind of game over right then and there. You know, you can't really do much in a turtle body, or like a Ginyu. You're stuck in a frog for the rest of life.
Okay, if it was Ginyu, though, that'd be different. That's crazy.
Say, like, if Gojo started becoming like this Cronenberg monster, like, is that instantaneous? Like, is he just screwed? Or like, would he have like enough time to like, oh shit, I'm fucked. Let me take this guy out before it happens completely. Or let me take the sun out before it happens completely.
It takes time. We actually never saw the full ramifications of what that ability is. Chariot Requiem actually has like undiscovered like power scaling potential here. We just don't know anything. We just know that it swaps souls. It makes you sleep, swap souls. You'll slowly become a Cronenberg monster, and it has a massive range. However, it's a glass cannon. If you figure out that there is a miniature sun behind you, and it's like his shadow is only ever in one perspective, you'd have to have a crazy perception to even like figure out that's the case entirely. And then you have to figure out, oh, where's the light coming from? So there's he can defeat it. I think he could, but it would require a lot of brain power. He definitely has. He has some of the best battle intelligence in his own series. And again, like I said, the 6 eyes, as soon as he looks at something, he already knows everything that thing does. You know, but it's one of those weird ones. So if Gojo's able to use his 6 eyes all during that moment until like a body switch happens, if there's a person nearby or an animal nearby, he can be like, okay, I don't have my 6 eyes anymore, but I know there's a thing behind me because I was able to analyze it for a few seconds, and he destroys it. It's game over. But it all depends. It's very finicky here, but it could do some damage here. So I give it 50-50. It maybe can go to Gojo here in that case.
And it just goes to show, like, the fact that, like, we've had so many 50-50s here so far, like, how genuine, like, it really just goes to show, like, how helpless, not helpless, but, like, how much more of a problem this man has stepping into this verse. It's crazy.
Okay.
It's crazy. So here we go. You've been waiting for this.
No, so this is probably just going to be D4. I didn't do Love Train. I don't want to do Love Train because that is a clusterfuck of conversation we need to talk about. So I'll just do regular D4C. So D4C and Funny Valentine have the ability to go through different dimensions when colliding with an object. So how Funny Valentine can move in between dimensions, if, to use an example, my door is right next to me. If I were to place myself in between the wall and the door, he is able to squish himself or fold onto himself and travel into a different parallel dimension. And that's pretty cool. It's interesting. It's like, okay, you can travel into different universes and timeline. That's cool, but how is it really effective? Well, D4C has the ability, Funny Valentine, to bring versions of himself into that universe and even others, so on and so forth. So he could travel in between universes and stuff and meet different versions of Gojo and himself having this fight. But the problem is, if Gojo makes contact with himself, an alternate universe version of himself, because more likely than not, how also the ability works is wherever like the space he folded on into becomes a doorway now. Anybody can walk into that like space and walk into that different multiverse or universe in general. So Funny Valentine, because he is smart about this, he could like be like, hey, come into this world with me. What's gonna happen? Like, the only way you're gonna beat me is if you follow me. How D4C's abilities work is he's the only person that is allowed to touch himself. Don't think about that wrong. That is gross. If anybody else decides to, high five themselves, they will collide with each other and they will literally blow up. It's just that those molecules cannot exist in the same place together for whatever reason. It's just how the universe works. They will instantly die. The problem is, I don't know how infinity works with this.
How do two infinite spaces that are going to slow each other down entirely so they can't touch each other interact with each other? Is that just going to cause a universal reset and just blow everything up?
I don't know. That's actually a very interesting question. Two infinities colliding with each other. I guess it just depends. But the thing is too here, this fight is not going to be short by any means. Stable run scaling is not very good. Funny Valentine just doesn't have a lot of like good feats until he gets his power up, which is Love Train, but that's a different discussion for a different day. But Funny Valentine has the ability to give his stand and his memories to a different Funny Valentine. Basically meaning here, Funny Valentine has infinite lives. As long as he's able to transcend into a different dimension or go into a different dimension and find a parallel version of himself, he can give the ability D4C to another Valentine and basically live on for basically forever. He's basically immortal. Well, not entirely immortal. He can still die, but as long as he gets himself to another version, he basically is more or less immortal. Funny Valentine can technically go into a different universe and find a multitude of different Gojos with different powers. So if anything, this becomes a 2v1. And this is just fun. This necessarily doesn't have to exactly happen, but
or he finds a Gojo with the exact ability that completely like reverses the Limitless and just like null and voids it entirely. Like, Gojo, I found the perfect counter for you. It's yourself.
You know what? And it's entirely possible because this does basically happen in the end of Silbaron. I won't spoil it, but he does find somebody with an adequate power and gives them prep time for them to fight Johnny Joestar. So depending on how you want to see this fight and how long you want to see it span out, technically speaking, this is a very long fight that could happen over a very long time, and there could be a lot of shenanigans about. It's gonna last longer than like a month or something. I don't know. Gojo can just hollow purple him. He can't get anywhere. He instantly dies. D4C is done. Game over. But if you want to say this is drawn out, you want to bring out every hypothetically question possible with D4C and Funny Valentine, this fight could be extremely interesting.
Gojo has unlimited stamina. If it is like a 1 month long fight or 2 month long fight where Gojo's just like constantly dimension hopping to chase this motherfucker to like the ends of the universe and keep killing Funny Valentines, like this is the man to do it, which I think is actually makes it even more funny. Just like an entirely separate alternate timeline universe of Gojo with like a scar over his eye, and he's like, I've been through 3,000 universes to find you.
It'd actually be so cool, dude.
I mean, Gojo does have unlimited void, like, you know, domain expansion, the sure hit, can't miss attack, but like you figure for specifically for like for certain areas where it's going to just completely fill someone with infinite amount of knowledge and just like stun lock them.
I will give it to Gojo, but if we really want to extend this and give like every hypothetical possible to Funny Valentine, because he is smart, he'd probably figure out like, I can't beat this guy regularly. There's no way. I need other means to do this. But I'll give it to Gojo.
110%.
And realistically, Funny Valentine has to find another Funny Valentine to keep on living. So as long as Gojo can break the chain once, it's basically over. He wins.
Yeah, 100%. Let's get rid of Dirty Deeds Done dirt cheat and let's move on. Let's roll this wheel, baby. Next up, we've got Made in Heaven.
Motherfucker. All right. Okay. So Made in Heaven blatantly has infinite speeds and has been shown to be as strong as Star Platinum, if not stronger. So you're basically just dealing with another Star Platinum with a crazy amount of speed. He'd be able to travel the distance of infinity. More likely than not, this is just an instant speed blitz. I don't really know how else to really describe this fight. It just would happen over incredibly fast.
Yeah, no, there's no other way to put it. It's over and done with. I mean, like you said, it's infinite speed. And just to give context for someone that's not completely familiar, Made in Heaven basically just gives its stand user Pucci the ability to speed the universe up to the point where it can literally just cause a full universal reset. Like everything just goes so fast. It leaves living things alone, I'm pretty sure, right? But like everything else in the universe is just accelerated to the absolute degree. And it's just the overall point and what Metas is getting at is that it's going to be moving so fast to the point that like Limitless will not be able to slow it down.
Affect them.
Literally impossible.
Yeah. Technically speaking, getting into the finer details, how it's presented, it's not infinite speed, it's immeasurable speed. Pucci can show up at any point at any time using Made in Heaven. So he can be like, I want to be at Florida about like 100 years from now. Instantly does that. Or he's like, I want to show up like 100 years ago in like Canada or something. He instantly speeds up the universe, depending on your interpretation of how fast it goes. And then now he's back in time already there. You're looking at a character so fast that none of the abilities Gojo has would be able to affect him. He's as strong as Star Platinum, way faster than Star Platinum, and way faster than Gojo. He just blitz. Just end the conversation. We don't need to do any more minutes than this.
All right. Well, that's pretty simple. Yeah. It's pretty cut and dry there. Made in Heaven is like the perfect Gojo killing stand. Like you couldn't get any more perfect than that.
A whole verse, bro.
Yeah. At this point, that's what it seems like. Literally. Wow. We got Cheap Trick.
Son of a bitch. Okay, so this one's really easy to explain. This is an easy Gojo win. Cheap Trick requires its physical self to attach to a person. Infinity is a thing. Cheap Trick cannot attach it to Gojo. More or less, that's the end of it.
Damn. I was really hoping like Cheap Trick had like it completely ignores durability or whatever.
No. Well, unless it gets on to you. But if you have like a barrier that
Limitless is on 24/7, so it would never be able to.
It would never be able to. Like it requires once it's physically on you, there's the problem. But if it can never physically get onto you, it doesn't matter. And for anybody who's going to say, but it's a stand, metas, it's a soul thing, we can get into the entire discussion of what the fuck a stand is, because it's not that simple. Cheap Trick is not a soul-based stand. It requires physical touch for it to activate. So it's like, it's not going to work here. A hollow purple.
This is this is literally the easiest win Gojo has gotten all day.
Yes.
Literally all day.
It does not work. It just doesn't work. I don't need to explain anything else.
It's kind of crazy. All right, who's coming up next, baby? Is it Jumpin' Jack Flash? Jumpin' Jack Flash. Let's go. The GOAT. I'll give you the small breakdown because you're definitely the JoJo's person. I'm definitely not gonna be able to explain it as well as you could have. But like basically, it's the stand that relies on power of gravity removal. So basically,
that's right.
Traps Jolene and Weather Report inside like this set space in the prison, and he basically turns it into an airlock, whereby basically removing all of the gravity in there, it basically creates a suffocating effect, like you're in space. Because Gojo requires to breathe air, limitless or no limitless, he's gonna have a problem because it's gonna be hard for him. There's gonna be no air to breathe. I believe the only reason they were even able to this situation.
Now I remember.
Yeah, they had Weather Report who was able to give them like astronaut helmets with air inside of it.
So I will say this. It depends on the area they're fighting in, but I still think Gojo wins this because he can fly and shit. So like the whole anti-gravity thing isn't really going to be a problem for him because like flying is just gravity removal in general. So like if this place isn't like a confusing mess and it takes an extremely long time to find, Jumping Jack Flash's stand user, God, that is extremely hard to say. Like Gojo can just destroy him. I don't think he necessarily has any good scaling either. I think because this is an early Jolene, so she's fairly weak compared to her later counterparts.
Yeah, and he's definitely more of a gimmick stand than he is like a power stand. Yeah, because he has like his whole like nail shooting thing, and that's how he kind of like gets one over on him.
It's over. This one's an easy one, unless it's like in a hyper complex maze scenario, and like Gojo has to like go through the maze or something. Like that's the only case I would imagine he would like slowly suffocate and die. But like if they're right next to each other, fair fighting ground, it's just like, oh no, I'm floating. Hollow purple or red or blue or anything you really want, or just with his hands. You could just beat his ass with his hands and it just became over.
Making the whole entire airlock situation where it creates a vacuum and starts like making air just dangerous and sucking blood out of any kind of wound, everything like that. It doesn't really happen until an effective amount of time has passed for the actual environment to be created. So Gojo definitely going up against someone that has no physical stats or physical feats of their own is just pretty easily cooked. All right, let's roll this. Let's see what happens next, because we're getting closer and closer to like. Okay, here we go.
Okay, this one's an interesting one. The reason why I put Doobie Wah on the list is so how this works. This is an automatic stand, and the stand can chase you because it's automatically locked onto you. The only way for you to not get hurt by this thing is it's able to take away the oxygen in the air or just the oxygen away from you. So the only way to stop it from taking the oxygen away from you is you basically have to hold your breath, basically. It's like the ocean on land. You have to hold your breath in order to fight it. And the only way to really stop it, to my knowledge, because automatic stands are kind of like a little bit broken in JoJo, because even if the stand gets hurt, the user doesn't. And the user can actually be quite a ways away from this stand. This requires a lot of hypotheticals of how this matchup is actually going to work. So unless this user's far away or close by, Gojo can literally suffocate to death here on oxygen. If the user's close, he can just, use one of his abilities and it's boom, it's game over. He's dead. Or if he's really far away, this kind of becomes a problem because you have to constantly run away from it. It's not like it affects a massive area. The stand has to be relatively close by it for it to like make you suffocate on air. So it's like, it's a bit interesting. So Gojo's gonna probably either play cat and mouse with this guy for a little bit, or if they're really close by next to each other, it's just like instant deletion. He himself has like no scaling either. He's really just a guy relying on hacks with a Doobie Wah stand user.
And now I ask you this because I haven't read up to part 8, so I'm not too familiar, and I could be wrong here. I'm looking at the Wikipedia right now, and I don't know if this either completely disproves everything that was said or is correct. Does the stand user need to touch the person to sick the stand on them?
I can't remember.
This says he needs to touch someone or at least touch their stand to make Doobie Wah actually pursue and attack the target. So if that is the case, oof.
So then if that's the case, then no, it wouldn't even work. He'd be cooked.
Hopefully Gojo's got a friend with him.
Yeah. Or something. I want Heaven's Door. For the love of God, Will. Give me Heaven's Door. I want
Give him the Rohan rant, please.
Please. I don't like Rohan. I have a PhD in
The Grateful Dead, which I think I'm interested to hear what you think, because Gojo would win stat-wise, but I think ability-wise, this would definitely be able to bypass Limitless.
So how Grateful Dead works is Grateful Dead is able to, it's not really oxygen, it's kind of like in the anime it's green, so it's kind of like a stink. It's creams a stink.
A stink, that smelly smell that smells smelly.
It's just like, it's like in the air, I guess I'll say that. So Grateful Dead is able to produce like this thing in the air. And what this thing in the air does is it's able to age everybody in a massive distance. I have scaled this one personally myself. It's able to like cover an entire train's distance in length in terms of area. So it's able to basically age anybody. If you're a dude, and Gojo's a dude, so it's able to age anybody older in terms of heat. So if Gojo's in this area and it affects it on an air-based level, as it's shown in the anime and the manga, it'd have to affect Gojo because Gojo has to fucking breathe. Gojo would basically age into oblivion, basically. You'll rapidly age. Actually, in the anime, I know they make it a difference. It's like, if the stand user, Jojo, if he's able to touch you, you instantly age into like an elderly old man or an elderly old woman. But even the gas itself, almost nearly instantly ages you. It takes some time. From how the manga and the anime show it, it's extremely fast. So if Gojo is in proximity to Jojo, he's gonna age extremely quickly, and he could possibly just become a crippled old man. So in terms of hacks here, this one actually is pretty detrimental to Gojo. I don't know how the universe's abilities work with elderly people. Like, does like curse energy get weaker over time as somebody ages, or does it like get stronger? I don't exactly know here.
Sorcery is like kind of one of those like career paths where it's like, if you have survived that long, there is probably a reason for it. But also at the same time, like, we do have inverse characters like Principal Gaku Kanji, who are like one of the oldest characters that we can even try and scale, and this man is one of the weakest characters in the verse. So that would completely contradict everything that I just said, even though most of the way that sorcery is supposed to be presented is that kind of like, again, if you are able to even survive longer than a year in the career, you're basically built different than most other people just because of how hectic the career is. Because also, like, we do have characters that are 1,000 years old, but those characters are only in their prime form because, one, you have characters that are like body hopping to keep, peak form, stuff like this. So it's kind of hard to say if Gojo aging up to being an old man would like nerf him in any way, because like obviously you could say that just by nature of getting older, you lose physical power, you lose mental capability, because I know that's also something that specifically Grateful Dead is able to affect, right? Like, it can literally age your brain to where you literally, it's not like you become an old man and you're still currently coherently there. Like, you will have the mental capacity of an old man. If we're to use Jujutsu Kaisen's like likeness to like Hunter x Hunter, Netero is a fucking god at the age that he's at, and he is a god because of how old that he is. So it's one of those things where we just don't have anything from the series that really would confirm or deny how age affects you. Well, we do also have that curse energy is stronger in death, but that's in death, not in old age.
So here's a crazy one I just thought of. I actually think there's an argument to say here that Gojo, with his ability to regenerate, might be able to prolong his aging, or the effective aging onto him. So if this is a long range fight and he's slowly being aged, he can use his regeneration powers to like, I'm not saying like completely stop it, but able to like, I was like 25 about like 5 minutes ago, but I'm getting close to 50 here. I gotta fucking hurry this up. My body's not able to like, is not being able to keep up with this for a very long time. I think that could honestly be a factor here.
Use reverse curse technique to slowly stop the aging process enough. And of course, Gojo being the character with the 6 eyes and having unlimited stamina, unlimited curse energy, he's one of the only characters who can canonically continually use reverse curse technique at that degree where it would barely affect his energy output.
If he has limitless stamina, even as an old man, the only way he's going to die is due to his brain or his heart failing. He could, even if he's like 100 years old, he'd be fine.
I would probably put more money on, again, old man Gojo still being a fucking tank.
I thought this was gonna be. I think this was gonna be a wash, but nah, I actually have to give it to Gojo here, man.
Well, the problem is it just depends on like how quickly like my man is able to age Gojo, because we do have instances where like he's able to accelerate the aging. We know, I'm pretty sure he has to touch them. He can't do that, but he can raise the temperature in the area. It depends on where they're fighting. Like if they're fighting in a desert, I mean,
he's
cooked.
He would be,
and like we also see the aging of the Grateful Dead be like so crazy. It's like literally like you're wrinkling to the point like you're a skeleton. Like you age until like you literally, your body is just decomposing while alive. It's not just like Gojo gets to 80 years old and then he stops at 80 and he just has to fight as like an old man with like his geriatric body. Like he's gonna age to the point where it's like debilitating. Although again, if he can slow the aging down, that's definitely a good feat to have. I mean, hey, if he can find Prosciutto, which again with the 6 eyes is gonna be very easy for him, even if Prosciutto tries to hide or aging himself to hide amongst the other aged people in the train so they can't find the stand user, can't do that. Gojo will immediately pick him out of a crowd instantly. And as metas would love to say, hollow purple.
Hollow purple.
Fuck those train goers.
But if it's not on the train and it's just like an open field or something, which is totally possible, I think Gojo should be realistically fine here. How Limitless works and all the bullshit Gojo has, I think he would be fine, even if he was like 80 years old, or he's able to slow down the slow down the aging cycle thanks to his like curse technique regeneration. He should be fine. I actually think he wins now. I came into this thinking Grateful Dead was going to clear, but like now that you said it and now thinking about it, nah, Gojo's fine. He clears. He's good.
I also thought Grateful Dead would be a pretty bad matchup as well. That was my pick for the list. I thought that was going to be a done deal. But yeah, as we're finding out, same with Jumpin, Jack Flash, and some of these, it's like, oh wow, this ability is going to cook him, and then like you actually start talking about it, and you're like, well,
never mind. He's cooked.
No, I think it goes to show you like
reverse
how interesting everything. Yeah, reverse cook. So out of 26 stands that we had on the wheel, we went through 13 of them, and I think that is honestly a great place to stop. And I would say that if this was an awesome conversation that you enjoyed watching, comment below and tell us, and we will knock out the rest of the list.
The next few probably will kick ass. Wonder Review, The Hand, Heavy Weather, Superfly.
Subscribe to both me and Metas. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Deuces.